To the faithful of the parishes of Good Shepherd and St. Francis and St. John, He is risen indeed. This week we are preparing our hearts for next Sunday's Gospel for the 6th Sunday of Easter. And so we read from John chapter 15, verses 9 through 17. Jesus said to His disciples, "As the Father loves me, so also I love you. Remain in my love. If you keep my commandments, you will remain in my love, just as I have kept my Father's commandments and remain in His love. I have told you this so that my joy may be in you and your joy may be complete. This is my commandment. Love one another as I have loved you. No one has greater love than this, to lay one's life down for one's friends. But you are my friends, if you do what I command you. I no longer call you slaves, because a slave does not know what his master is doing. I've called you friends, because I've told you everything I have heard from my Father. It was not you who chose me, but I who chose you, and appointed you to go and bear fruit that will remain, so that whatever you ask my Father in my name, He may give you. This I command you. Love one another." To know one's mission is very important in this life, whether it's for a career, a job, a vacation, a decision, a relationship. Knowing one's goals, objectives, and ends all give a person clarity and focus and purpose. In fact, Dr. Stephen Covey, years ago, famous life coach, businessman, and author of The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, he stressed that the second habit of highly successful people should be to begin with the end or the final objective in mind. In other words, know what your goal is going to be before you begin the venture. In next Sunday's Gospel, which we just read to you, Jesus gives His disciples then and today clarity and focus on our mission. First of all, let's ask, what is a disciple, real quick? A disciple is a person who is a faithful student, or is a person who is learning a particular discipline as a way of life. To any one of His disciples, Jesus says, "If you keep my commandments, you will remain in my love. This is my commandment. Love one another as I have loved you. No one has greater love than this, than to lay one's life down for a friend. And it was not you who chose me, but I who chose you and appointed you to go bear fruit that will remain." In fact, in Matthew's Gospel, Jesus says, "Go therefore and make disciples of all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father and of the Son and of the Holy Spirit, teaching them to observe all that I have commanded you." If we call ourselves disciples of Jesus today, Jesus clarifies the demands and conditions which we must accept and obey in order for us to be blessed, highly effective, and successful disciples. Our mission statement at Good Shepherd invites each member to put these teachings of Jesus into faithful and consistent action. It says, Good Shepherd Church is a multicultural faith community whose mission is to live the teachings of Jesus Christ. Love God, love neighbor, and make disciples for Jesus. If we call ourselves disciples of Jesus, we must make His teachings our focus, our objective, our final goal, our end. Beginning with the end in mind, Jesus is our eternal and divine God, manifest in the flesh. So, interestingly, when we hear any part of the Bible read to us or we study it, it is God speaking to us at all times. This means we must accept and obey all of Jesus' teachings. Not just the teachings and beliefs that we like and accept, like love one another and do good, or judge not lest you be judged, care for one another. All these are good things. But as disciples, we must also accept and obey the challenging and difficult teachings of Christ, such as the 10 Commandments, the Beatitudes, Christ's teachings on forgiveness, the sacredness of all human life, respect and dignity of every human being, care for God's creation, do not get drunk, We shall be judged by God on every word that issues from our mouths. The sacredness of marriage and intimacy between a man and a woman. Give and it shall be given. And pray for your enemies. Those can be tough teachings. When we do not make his teachings our end, our focus, our objective, then our witness before others is compromised. Our witness then lacks integrity. And who wants to commit to a mission to be associated with any community or any goals that lack integrity? We become hypocrites and fakes to each other and before the world. So as a household or a family, why don't you share with each other what it means and how you have found it easy to love God and love neighbor? And then also talk about when you found it difficult to love God and to love your neighbor. When has keeping God's commandments been difficult for you, especially if keeping his commands is inconvenient or makes you unpopular with your family, friends, or neighbors? How can loving God be difficult? What teachings in the Bible do you have a hard time accepting or understanding? Share why making disciples might be so difficult, especially if we truly believe that the gospel is really good news about Jesus for everyone. Why would we not want to share and inform others and help others believe in the good news about Jesus? Perhaps there's some action steps for you this coming week. Sometimes it's the most difficult part, asking ourselves, how do I make disciples? That's a tough one. How about committing this week on learning how to make disciples? Here's one point. Recall that since your baptism, you are the chosen delegate by Christ to be his hands, his feet, his compassionate heart, and his voice of truth to others. Secondly, be a vision of Jesus to others in both what you say and what you do. Exercise integrity between your faith and your actions, knowing that others are watching us. Thirdly, commit to learning more about the teachings of Jesus and our Catholic faith, which are based on his teachings, especially the teachings that sometimes may be challenging to you and to me. The greatest way to lead others to Christ, the good news that he is when others witness your Christian beliefs, words, and actions, all consistently lining up as a true reproduction of Jesus for others to believe. He is risen. He's risen indeed.